Suck that bone dry, okay? Every time. It's magic. Welcome back to Fusion. This is Fusion. I am Bryn, and this is episode 2. I hope you all enjoyed the first episode. It was lots of fun to make. This is the second one, and this is probably the one that I'm most proud of. Today, we are creating something that I would probably quite obnoxiously call my signature dish. It is something I created when I was a master chef, and to me, it epitomizes fusion food. We are taking really classic French technique, combining it with Tamil flavors that are bold, fiery, and really in your face. And from that, we're going to create a dish that is very versatile. You can either have it as a starter, you can bulk it up with some sides and have it as a main that will be really impressive. And if you're feeling really fancy and you've got a bit of money to throw away, you could even serve it as a little snack. This is my Sambal crusted rack of lamb, and I cannot wait for you to see the end product because it is pretty impressive. We're going to kick things off by making the sambal. There are many versions of sambals around the world. This Tamil Sri Lankan version is a coconut sambal. We call it Thenga sambal. Thenga means coconut. It accompanies so many dishes for us. It's something that we just pop on the side of the plate. It's spicy, it's salty. You can add as much or as little as you want. It really changes every mouthful. What I've done just there is I've taken the desiccated coconut, which forms the base of a sambal, and I've rehydrated it with a touch of water. Not very much, just about a tablespoon of boiling water. And that will just bring back some of the moisture to it. And while that rehydrates, what we want to do is create the real flavor. So I'm going to create a little paste in this pestle and mortar that's going to flavor that sambal. The main thing that needs to go into here is chili and salt. There's lots of spice going through it, and this does almost act like a bit of a seasoning in itself. The salt and the chili, they grind together to produce the most amazing, vibrant orange color. And when you wrap that around a rack of lamb, it's magic. Is to grind up that salt and chili. We want to make it one homogeneous powder, and this can take a bit of time, but it's worth it. Now that we've got that wonderful bright orange powder, we need to make the paste. Obviously the paste needs a bit of moisture, so I've gone in with a shallot. Traditionally, we would use what's called mouldy fish flakes, which are essentially dry fish flakes. Not very common here in the UK, but we all know how well lamb and anchovies go together. Using the anchovies instead of the mouldy fish flakes here works really well. It's a really accessible ingredient for everyone here too. And anchovies just give that extra hit of salt. I created this dish when I was a master chef, right? And I did not know at the time that it would end up becoming the dish that I, in my heart of hearts, really feel the one I'm most proud of. Interestingly, when I did this on master chef, I actually didn't do very well in that round. It is the only round I didn't do very well in, but gave myself way too much to do. Briny Big Bollock strikes again. I didn't get it done in time. You want those shallots to completely disintegrate, really. Right, this is boring, let's skip to it being done. Now that we've got that to an almost paste, we've got to remember what we've got in there. Every episode here is going to be a little bit of a lesson in flavour, right? So, chili, spice, salt and anchovies, salt. The shallots do add a bit of sweetness, which is great, but what we're really missing here is a tiny bit of acidity to lift it all up. Whatever you're cooking, I promise you, a touch of acidity helps. In this, we need a lot more than a touch. I'm going to add the juice of a lime. I'm not going to stop giving you tips because I want you to be better cooks. Limes, really give them a decent roll so they're nice and soft when you're cooking with them. That will mean the juice comes out easier. The second tip is you don't want to slice through the head and the tail, you want to go through the body. So if you've got each of the nibs between your finger and thumbs there, that's the line you want to cut at. That's the best way to get the juice out of it. Look how easy that comes out. Loads of juice in that. And then we're just going to give everything one last mix before we mix it in with the desiccated coconut. That looks incredible. The desiccated coconut has been sitting with a touch of water for about 5–10 minutes. It's gone from being a really coarse texture to just being like a little bit fluffy. We want to get all that flavour from the paste into there. It's going to turn into this beautiful, vibrant, reddish orange colour that is going to look incredible on our lamb. Come and check this out because look at that wonderful orange colour. That's got spice in it, it's got a lovely bit of salt, and the spice really hits you at the back of your mouth, builds really gently. And the final thing I want to mix into that is just some chopped coriander. Freshens it up, looks beautiful, and as long as you like coriander, tastes great. And then we can set this aside and get cracking with this rack of lamb. Without getting too weird about food, I do feel like this wonderful rack of lamb is just sitting there waiting to be dressed in this. I would be if I was it. It's bloody delicious. Handful of coriander, stems and all. You're looking for a really fine dice because it basically has to be the same consistency as the desiccated coconut. Whack that in, give it one final mix, and then we can set that aside while we move on to prepping our lamb. Okay, now, main event. This is a rack of lamb. It is one of the nicest cuts of meat out there. It is admittedly not very accessible. it's not very cheap. I mean, this 8-bone rack here was probably about 25, 28 quid, which I understand is not something you can be doing on a weeknight, but it's a nice treat if you want to treat yourself. If, unlike this, you would prefer to cook recipes as delicious as this, but with more accessible ingredients, you want to be grabbing yourself a copy of this. This is my debut cookbook, Elevate. It is all about creating bold and vibrant dishes from everyday ingredients that are accessible and just down in your local supermarket. Go and grab that if that's what you want, but today we're going a little bit fancier and we're pushing the boat out a little bit. If you're going to spend the money on a beautiful cut of meat like this, you need to be able to cook it properly and you need to be able to prep it properly. Very kindly, my wonderful butcher has already cleaned it up and done what we call a French trim. So this fat cap would normally come all the way up to the top. What the butcher's done is cut it down there, removed it, and then removed all the little bits between the bones and cleaned them up. That's how you get them looking really nice and pretty. The fat is still quite thick. Now, if you were just to cook it like that, you're very likely gonna get a lot of fat in each piece. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna prep it to try and render that fat down and turn it from something fatty into something that's really enjoyable to eat. In order to do that, with a sharp knife, we're basically gonna give a really nice crisscross pattern. I like to go really close with the cuts on this. So you have like a really close diamond shape almost. Now, the reason I like to do that is because as it renders and those gaps become a bit bigger, the crusting, the sambal that we're going to put on the side, really clings to it nicely. And that's exactly what we're looking for, because we want to get flavour into every part of this dish. Fling it round and go the other way. We're scoring the fat, but we're not going through it. The meat underneath this fat is very lean. So if you expose it and you overcook it, it can become very dry very easily. Right, can you see how those cuts are quite close together? They've not gone through to the meat at all, and that is what we've produced. I know we've got loads of flavour in the sambal, but what we do have to do is season this meat, because we're going to sear it completely first before the sambal goes onto it. That's going to do one of two things. Firstly, it's going to lock in that beautiful flavour, prevent the meat from bleeding out. And secondly, when you're cooking something and you want it to be pink, if you can get it in a ripping hot pan and create a lovely crust around the outside, you'll get a really lovely blushing pink from the top to the bottom, as opposed to a weird grey line. When you do that, you want to make sure you season it from the inside out. You don't want the crust to be flavoursome, but the actual meat to be bland. I don't actually want the pan to be ripping hot when we start, because I want to render the fat down properly first. It only needs a touch of oil, because there's going to be a lot of fat coming off this as we render it. Place it down away from you, really press it down. Stay there for a while if you can. You want to create as much contact with the pan as possible. There's a smell that comes off lamb fat, or just lamb, as soon as it hits the pan, and it is incredible. I could really drink that. Always wipe your board down. Try and keep everything nice and neat and tidy. You thank yourself later. You cook better if you cook tidy. It took me a long time to realise that. I'm going to weigh this down a little bit. I want to make sure there's a bit of even contact. A few trays, you don't need anything fancy. And then we'll render out that fat, get a nice bit of colour, and then we'll really sear the rest of it. So I reckon we're probably starting to look quite good. Oh yeah, look at that. Beautiful. That is just stunning. Now that we've got that lovely bit of colour, I want to sear everything else. Nice hot pan. Really get a nice crust everywhere else. Make sure you're doing the sides as well, either end, okay? Use the bones to help you. And then the final job, a very important one. We want to make sure that that meat stays nice and moist. And one of the best ways to do that is by basting it with a tiny bit of butter. That'll get tons of flavour into it. It will keep it nice and moist. When I eat out in restaurants, it's really obvious when meat has been basted with butter and when it hasn't. It kind of melts in your mouth when it has been, and then it's kind of got it's almost got like an extra texture to it that you want to get rid of. Right, that's done. Look at that. That is exactly what we want. Pop that on a tray, get your pan off. There are a couple of important steps in the coating process. The first is rubbing Dijon mustard all over it. Now, the reason we do that is if I just try to put the sambal on this now, it might cling for a second, but it will just drop right off. The Dijon, it acts as a binder. So whack it on, grab a brush and brush it all over. I've put this recipe out before on my other socials, but it feels really nice to be able to give you an in-depth version of it and hopefully give you guys a few more tips on how you can create it like I do. Grab a nice big tray, spread the sambal out on it. Start with a little to begin with. If you've got any excess of this, you're going to want to keep it and add it to everything else you cook with. I remember as a kid, I discovered that adding sambal into instant noodles just made them incredibly tasty. A bit spicy and a bit salty, and just completely changed the flavour. Roll it in the sambal, really press down, okay? Really press down. Try and get it completely coated. You want to press it in, put it on top, press it down. If you want to be really fancy, you can cover the bones with foil and that stops them from burning. Keeps it really nice and clean for when you're serving it. I'm not asked. If you're not asked, don't waste your time. We'll check that again in about 20 minutes, and then if it needs more, we'll give it more. While the lamb's cooking, we need to make the accompaniment. The plan here is cooking the lamb, cutting it into its lollipops, and then dunking it in the most incredible, vibrant green chutney. This is a mango, coriander, and mint chutney. It's sweet from mango with a touch of sourness, sharp, acidic from the lime, spicy from these green guys, and then has lots of aromatics with garlic and ginger. If you're cooking Southeast Asian food and you want to create a chutney to go with it, this is a fantastic option. Just tearing it off. It's very easy, it all just gets thrown into a blender and blitzed to this really nice green chutney. It's a very herbaceous chutney, coriander and mint going into it. Coriander you can just put straight in, you don't need to take the stems away. Mint stems you don't want to be eating, so just tear the leaves off and throw them in. Just going to put a whole green chilli in, and then about an inch of ginger. What we'll do is take off the end, grab yourself a spoon, and you can just scratch away the skin. I'm sure you all know this because you're all pro cooks by now. Episode 2, my viewers are already pro cooks, better than me. Throw it in, and then I'll probably go in with 2 garlic cloves. This is going to blend everything anyway, so just bash it with the back of a knife, throw it in. Something else I want to put in is cumin seeds. Really earthy, lovely touch of spice. They can just go in whole, season it, and just help with that cooling note because there is some spice around here. And to add a bit of nice consistency, a couple of tablespoons of yogurt. My best friend, lime. I reckon if you ask me what ingredients I couldn't live without, lime would probably be the first. It goes in so many things for me. It makes food exciting. Watch how it turns from yellow to green. I mean, look at that. See, vibrant and green. I know that you think every time I taste something, I'll tell you it tastes good. Hopefully it should, because these recipes are some of my favourite. But I do really mean it. That is so tasty. And I think if you dip one of those lamb lollipops into this, you're going to create the most incredible mouthful. Let's check on the lamb. I'm aiming for 52 degrees internal temperature because, as I'm sure you're going to see me bang on about on this channel, you have to let your meat rest. In that time, it's going to keep creeping up. I would like it to finish at about 56. Nice. We're at about 53, bang in the middle. So we'll let that do its thing, let it rest. While that's resting, we can start plating everything else up. When you've got a crust like that, it's so important the knife you're using is sharp. You don't want it to fall apart. There's no point going to all that hard work and then it crumble literally at the end. See what we're working with. Right down the middle to begin. Ready? Yeah. That is what you want. Beautifully pink from one edge to the other. Is that weird? I won't do it again. I just absolutely love this dish. It also comes with that tiny bit of danger. Have I overcooked it? Is it going to be delicious? Of course it is. Now you can really plate this up however you want. I sort of want it to be a sharing style. Everyone picks up one of these lollipops, dunks it in the sauce, shoves it straight in their gob. You want to place it up on a plate, a couple per person for a starter. Or if you want to serve it as main, cook some mash or some potatoes. Lovely tender stem broccoli. All of this will go with that. It will just be a really, really delicious and quite refined main course. And just make it look pretty. There we have it, a Sambal crusted rack of lamb with a mango and coriander chutney. What is not to love? I'm getting stuck in now. Every time. It just works so well, every part of it. Suck that bone dry, okay? I don't want to see no meat left on that. And that is it. That is episode 2 of Fusion. This is a Sambal crusted rack of lamb with the mango and coriander chutney. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you're enjoying the series. If you are, click like, subscribe, send it to all your friends. If you're not enjoying it, just do it anyway because it makes you feel a lot better. I'll see you next week for another incredible dish that creates great food out of fusion.